A lot of times it's going to be easier to just solve the problem mathematically. That would involve combinations and permutations, and a lot of you guys might have those fancy TI calculators that give you a permutation and a combination formula, and sometimes those work and sometimes they don't. So you have to be really, really comfortable using those. Either ask your teacher or your friends. I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to give you a series of questions to ask yourself that you could use a calculator with or not use a calculator with. But if you follow these series of questions, you won't go wrong. So we use this combination flowchart to help break it down. And I'll give you an example of each. It might not make sense right off the bat. So the first question you ask yourself is, am I on a multiple source problem or am I on a single source problem? If you're on a multiple source problem, you set up categories and you multiply across, simple and easy. If you're on a single source problem, you have to ask yourself another question. You then ask, okay, does order matter or does order not matter? If order matters, you set up your categories and multiply across, the same as you would a multiple source problem. If order doesn't matter, you set up your categories, you multiply across, and divide. So we'll go into detail with each of those so it makes more sense. So let's say on the SAT you see this question. Mark wants to purchase 1 comedy, 1 action, and 1 drama DVD from the video store. He can choose from 20 comedies, 15 action flicks, and 30 dramas. So we have to ask, okay, is this a multiple source problem or is this a single source problem? Well, because he's choosing from 3 separate types of DVDs, comedies, action flicks, and dramas, this would be categorized as a multiple source problem. So set up your categories. You have a comedy DVD, an action DVD, a drama DVD, and then just simply multiply across. How many comedies does he have to choose from? 20. Times how many actions he has to choose from, which would be 15, times the drama DVDs, which would be 30, and you ended up getting 9,000. Now let's say the question was reworded and it read,
Mark wants to purchase 3 DVDs from the video store. He can choose from 65 DVDs. Now we have a single source problem because he's only choosing from 1 category of items, DVDs.
Now we have to ask ourselves, does order matter or is there no order? Let's say Mark purchases Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. Now, keeping those 3 DVDs, let's say we flip-flop the order and he purchased Star Wars first and then Lord of the Rings and then Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is that a different combination or the same combination? Because the order of the purchasing doesn't matter, it would be the same combination. So from there, we would want to divide. We set up our categories, so you have DVD 1, DVD 2, DVD 3, and you ask yourself, okay, how many DVDs do I have to pick from for my first DVD? Well, 65. Now you've used one of those DVDs. We've used Raiders of the Lost Ark. So how many DVDs do I have to pick from now? 64. Now I've used Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars, so how many DVDs do I have to choose from? 63. But because this is a single source problem where order doesn't matter, we have to divide across. When you're dividing by the factorial of 3. So essentially, however many categories you've set up is what you divide by. So because we have 3 DVD categories, we count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. Because essentially, we could have the order Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or we could have Star Wars, Raiders of the Ark, Lord of the Rings, or we could have Lord of the Rings, Raiders of the Ark, Star Wars. There's all these different kind of flip-flops we could do, but it's all the same category, so we have to cancel out all of those duplicate combos. So we would have 65 over 3 times 64 over 2 times 63 over 1. Cross-cancel, you get 43,680. If they had said he was picking 2 DVDs instead of 3 DVDs, you would just have 65 times 64, and you'd set it over a factorial of 2 because you're only working with 2 DVDs. So it would be 2 times 1. 4 DVDs, you'd work with the 4 factorial, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1.